Over the weekend in Gaza, we saw yet more mass shootings and killings of people seeking UN aid for their families, an atrocious and inhumane act which I utterly condemn. We need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate release of all hostages, and unimpeded humanitarian Mr. President of the General Assembly, Mr. President of the Economic and Social Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. This year's high-level political forum arrives at a time of profound challenge, but also real possibility. Despite enormous headwinds, we have seen just in the last 2 months what can be achieved when countries come together with conviction and focus. We saw it in Geneva, where the World Health Assembly adopted the pandemic agreement, a vital step toward a safer, more equitable global health architecture. We saw it in Nice, at the third UN Ocean Conference, where governments committed to expand marine protected areas and tackle plastic pollution and illegal fishing. And we saw it in Seville at the Fourth International Financing for Development Conference, where countries agreed on a new vision for global finance, one that expands fiscal space, lowers the cost of capital, and ensures developing countries have a stronger voice and participation in the organizations that shape their future. These are not isolated wins. They are signs of momentum. Signs that multilateralism can deliver. Signs that transformation is not only necessary, it is possible. And that is the spirit we bring to this high-level political forum. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this forum is about renewing our common promise to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. We also recognize the deep linkages between development and peace. We meet against the backdrop of global conflicts that are pushing the Sustainable Development Goals further out of reach. That is why we must keep working for peace in the Middle East. Over the weekend in Gaza, we saw yet more mass shootings and killings of people seeking UN aid for their families, an atrocious and inhumane act which I utterly condemn. We need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate release of all hostages, and unimpeded humanitarian access as a first step to achieve the two-state solution. We need a ceasefire between Iran and Israel to hold. We need a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, based in the UN Charter, international law, and UN resolutions. We need an end to the horror and bloodshed in Sudan, and the list goes on, from the DRC to Somalia, from the Sahel to Myanmar. At every step, we know sustainable peace requires sustainable development. The Sustainable Development Goals are not a dream. They are a plan to keep our promises to the most vulnerable people, to each other, and to future generations. People win when we channel our energy into development. Since 2015, millions more people have access to electricity, clean cooking, and the internet. Social protection now reaches over half the world's population, up from just a quarter a decade ago. More girls are completing school. Child marriage is declining. Women's representation is growing, from the boardrooms of business to the halls of political power. But we must face a tough reality. Only 35% of SDG targets are on track or making moderate progress. Nearly half are moving too slowly, and 18% are going backwards. Meanwhile, the global economy is slowing. Trade tensions are rising. Inequalities are growing. Aid budgets are being decimated while military spending soars. And mistrust, division, and outright conflicts are placing international problem-solving system under unprecedented strain. We cannot sugarcoat those facts, but we must not surrender to them either. The SDGs still are within reach if we act with urgency and ambition. This year's forum focuses on 5 critical goals: health, gender equality, decent work, life below water, and global partnerships. All are essential. All are interconnected. All can spur change across other goals. On health, COVID-19 exposed and deepened inequalities, and today far too many people still lack access to basic care. We know what works. We must boost investment in universal health coverage, rooted in strong primary care and prevention, reaching those furthest behind first. On gender equality, gaps remain wide. Women and girls face systemic barriers, from violence and discrimination to unpaid care and limited political voice. But we also see growing momentum, from grassroots movements to national reforms. Now is the time to turn that momentum into transformation, with rights-based policies, accountability, and real financing into programs that support inclusion and equality for women and girls. On decent work, the global economy is leaving billions behind. Over 2 billion people are in informal jobs, and youth unemployment is stubbornly high. But we have tools to change these. The Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection is helping countries invest in expanded social protection initiatives, skills training, and the creation of sustainable livelihoods, including in growing industries like clean energy. Tomorrow, I will deliver an address on the enormous opportunities of the renewables revolution. And the upcoming World Summit on Social Development can help spur further progress. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on life below water, our ocean and the communities that count on it are paying the price of overfishing, pollution, and climate change. We must deliver on the commitments of the Nice Ocean Conference to protect marine ecosystems and support the millions who depend on them. And finally, on global partnerships, SG17, we need to strengthen all the elements that can support progress. And this means investing in science, data, and local capacity, and harnessing digital innovation, including artificial intelligence, to accelerate progress, not deepen divides. Throughout, we must recognize the need to reform the unfair global financial system, which no longer represents today's world or the challenges faced by developing countries. We must ensure a reform for developing countries to have a stronger voice and greater participation to help advance the Sustainable Development Goals on the ground. The Seville commitment that emerged from the Conference on Financing for Development includes important steps. Through new domestic and global commitments that can channel public and private finance to the areas of greatest need. By increasing the capacity of governments to substantially mobilize domestic resources, including through tax reform. And by establishing a more effective framework for debt relief and tripling the lending capacity of multilateral development banks to the benefit of developing countries. Excellences, au cours de l'année à venir, nous devons continuer à construire. Nous devons renforcer et élargir les partenariats qui portent leurs fruits, y compris avec le secteur privé et les organisations de la société civile et du pouvoir local. Nous devons faire en sorte que chaque décision s'inscrive dans une réflexion à long terme, comme nous y sommes engagés dans les déclarations sur les générations futures. Et nous devons continuer d'apprendre les uns des autres. Les examens nationaux volontaires qui constituent la clé de voûte de ce forum sont bien plus que de simples rapports. Ce sont des actes de responsabilité, ce sont de véritables parcours d'introspection que les pays suivent à mesure qu'ils se développent et se construisent. Et ce sont des modèles que les autres pays peuvent suivre et dont ils peuvent s'inspirer. À la fin de ce forum politique de haut niveau pour le développement durable, nous aurons dépassé les 400 examens et plus de 150 pays en auront présenté plus d'un. Il s'agit là d'un signal fort d'engagement, une preuve indéniable que des solutions existent et qu'elles peuvent être reproduites et étendues. À 5 ans d'échéance, le temps est venu de convertir ces prémices de transformation en un puissant élan de progrès qui bénéficie à tous les pays. Agissons avec détermination, justice et vision et concrétisons le développement pour les personnes et pour la planète. Je vous remercie.
The cries from Gaza are not echoes of the past. They are the present. They call on each of us, on every nation, to stand on the right side of history. Peace is not a privilege for some, it is a right for all. We leave this room not with closure, but with a renewed resolve to fight for every life, to defend every right, and to never abandon the hope of a free and peaceful Palestine. Thank you.